So we were able to start the discussions on the bank reconciliation statement. I did indicate to you that the main thing we are going to do here is to bring some two balances to be equal. These two balances are the balance in our cash book bank column and then the balance on the bank statement prepared by the bank. Okay, now what is important is we also discuss the causes of the differences between these two balances. And I want us to kickstart today's class from there. So Prof. Alexia and Prof. Delade, can you briefly outline the causes of the disagreement between these two balances? I'll pick it up. So whoever is ready can give me all the causes. That'll be fine. Okay. So we have dishonored check. Okay. So I see this honored check. It's one of them. From this honored check, what else? Prof. Delade, if your microphone is working, you can unmute and tell me some of the causes. Alexia has added.
Sir, please come again.
Yes, the causes of the disagreement between the two balances as we saw the last time.
Yes, please. Please. Timing.
Can you take the point again?
Sir, please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Yes, please. Timing differences and then unrecorded transactions.
Okay. But specifically we spoke about unpresented checks, uncredited checks. We spoke about bank charges, direct debits, or what we know as debit transfers. Then we have direct credits or credit transfers. We also spoke about interest or dividend received. And errors made by the bookkeeper, as well as errors made by the bank. So these are, I think, 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. So these are the 10 specific causes we saw, right? Now, you need to remember these causes because when you are reconciling the two balances, your focal point will be these causes. Now, professors, listen to me carefully. If there is a disagreement between the cash book balance and the bank statement balance, what you have to do is in twofold. You first, let me indicate that here. You first do what we call, you prepare an adjusted cash book. before you prepare the bank reconciliation statement. Okay. So you prepare an adjusted cash book and you prepare a reconciliation statement. These are the two things you do to reconcile the two balances, right? Now, please take it from here that amongst the 10 courses, the ones that I'm highlighting, i.e. unpresented checks, okay, uncredited checks, and errors made by the bank, these courses will be rectified in the reconciliation statement. Please note this thing I'm saying that unpresented checks, uncredited checks, and errors made by the bank will be rectified in the reconciliation statement. Now, the remaining courses, i.e. dishonest check, standing order, bank charges, credit transfers, debit transfers, or interest received or dividend received, and errors made by the bookkeeper, these are adjusted in the cash book. We do that because these are seen as omissions. They were supposed to be recorded in the cash book, but we haven't recorded them. So we adjust them to the cash book. Okay. Now, for us to understand the whole concept, look at what I'm going to do next, and that is to draw the two things we are looking at here, i.e. the cash book and then the bank statement, and look at how each of them, operates. And I'm sure we are very much comfortable with the cash book. Okay, so let me draw. Okay, so as we all know, this is the cash book, right? And this is your bank statements. Pardon my crooked lines because I'm not using it properly. Okay, so these are the columns in a bank statement, right? I'm going to label all of them, but this is your bank. And we saw last time that this statement is prepared by the bank, and it normally gives you a summary of all the monies that you have deposited into the bank account and all the monies you have withdrawn from that account, as well as any outstanding balance. So, for example, I think those of you who are very active with using the MTN Momo, you can request for your statement, and that statement will tell you how much you have deposited, or what we call cash in, and how much you have cashed out. Okay, so this is your bank statement. Now you see it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. The first column is the date, right? The date on which the transaction occurs. Okay. The second is the particulars, as we all know, or the details. The third is the the debit column. The debit, we can use DR to represent it. And the fourth is the credit column, and the last column is the balance. Okay. And then this is your cash book. As we all know, this is the debit side, and this is the credit side. Now, last time I did something. I told you the cash book has this side as the receipt side. Okay. Let me put the title there. as we all know, this is the debit side of the cash book bank account, right? And this is the credit side. We know the debit side to be called the receipt side. Okay, so when you receive check or when you receive check, this is where you record it. And then the credit side is known to be the payment side, right? So anytime we pay check, we credit our cash book. Now let's compare the cash book to the bank statement, and you appreciate how the two work hand in hand. So the receipt side of your cash book corresponds to the credit side of your bank statement. Please note that. The receipt side, which is the debit side of your cash book, corresponds to the credit side of the bank statement. So in the bank statement, the credit side is the receipt side. Okay, so when you receive a check, your bank, either GCB or whatever, they will credit your account with them. But you in your cash book, you debit it. Likewise, if you make any payment, right, you credit it in your cash book, your bank statement, it will be debited. So the debit side is the payment side of the bank statement. Please, you understand this simple relationship I'm trying to draw between the cash book and the bank statement. Okay. Now we'll have to take each of the courses so that you appreciate how they work. So let me erase this thing. But before that, if there are questions, please ask me. Della, are you okay? And Alexia.
Yeah.
Okay. Adam, you are welcome. Okay, so let's continue. Let me erase this and now we'll put some figures inside for us to appreciate this concept very well. So let's take for example that in our cash book, okay, we have a balance of 100 cedis, debit balance of 100 cedis. So that will be in our cash book like 1st January, maybe 2025, right? We have a balance brought down, say 50 cedis. Now this debit balance, on your bank statement, you see the same date, 1st January 25. You see balance. And that will be here 50 cedis. Now look at what is interesting about this bank statement. If you have a debit balance in your cash book, on your bank statement, that balance is a credit. And as you all know, a debit balance in your cash book means it is a favorable balance. It's a positive figure. So likewise, a credit balance on your bank statement also constitutes or shows a positive figure, right? Or a favorable balance. If it is negative, please listen. If it is negative, the bank statement will show a debit balance, while the cash book will show what? A credit balance. And that is what we all know to be called an overdraft, a bank overdraft. So professors, please listen and take notes carefully. A bank overdraft is seen when, one, the cash book is showing a credit balance and the bank statement is showing what? A debit balance. And a bank overdraft is referred to as an unfavorable balance. How does this happen? It happens when you withdraw more than what you have in your bank account. Now, this is actually a form of a loan. Okay, it's a short-term credit facility given to current account holders, where, for example, if you have 100 cedis in your account, the bank will allow you to take what? 150. So what it means is that you now owe the bank 50 cedis. Okay, and that will be shown with a debit balance. So anytime you see a bank statement that has a debit attached to the balance, it is an overdraft. Or sometimes they use this symbol O/D to indicate the overdraft. So take note of that. Okay. So I have just said, yes. Adam, you have a question?
Please. Yes. So I wanted to ask if you could go over the balances for the cash book and the bank statement in case of the overdraft.
Sorry, can you take the question again? I wasn't hearing.
Okay, so I was asking if you could go over the balances for the cash book and then the bank statement
Okay,
for the overdraft.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. So I want us to appreciate the relationship the cash book and the bank statements have. Okay, so earlier I said that the debit side of your cash book, right, is equal to the credit side of your bank statement. And as we all know, the cash book, the debit side of the cash book is the receipt side. When you receive check, you debit your cash book. For example, received 5,000 check from AC. What we do is we debit our cash book. And note here, reference is to only bank account. We are not dealing with cash. So when I say cash book, I'm referring to the bank aspect of it. That's the bank column, right? So the debit side is the receipt side. This corresponds to, okay, this debit side, receipt side corresponds to the credit side of the bank statement. So when you receive a check in your bank statement, it is credited. So if you have been hearing people, they say, oh, I credit my account. My account has been credited. What it means that you have received a check or money into your bank account. Okay. Likewise, when you make payment, when you pay, in your cash book, you credit it. But on your bank statement, it will be what? Debited. So if I want to use plus or minus, then in our cash book, the debit side is the plus, but on the bank statement, the credit side is the plus when we are receiving. On your cash book, the credit side is your payment. You are paying, so minus. But in the bank statement, your debit side is the payment side. Okay. Yeah, Adam, go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, why is it so the debit side of the cash book being the credit positive side and then the credit side being?
So let me do it this way. You see, the bank, for example, GCB see you, the customer, as a creditor. Why? Because you are depositing your money with GCB. So in essence, it's like GCB owes you that money because that money is not for GCB, it's for you. And you know that if a bank recognizes a customer as a creditor, then when the customer gives the bank money, the bank would have to credit that customer. Okay. So in the eyes of the bank, right? If the bank receive money from the customer, they will credit the customer and then they will debit their cash book. But we, the business, when we receive that check, what do? We debit our cash book and then we credit the person who gave us the check. So the ultimate effect you see regards the relationship of the cash book and the bank statement is that while you are debiting your receipt, the bank will also be what? Crediting that receipt. Because eventually when you receive that check, you give it to the bank to keep it for you. So the bank acknowledges you, the customer, as a creditor. That's why when they receive from you, they credit your account. I don't know if that makes some sense, Adam.
Yes. Thank you.
So every customer is seen as a creditor by the bank. Okay, that's why all customers of a bank have credit balances with the banks. Okay. Now, regarding the balance on these two, that's the cash book and the bank statement. We all know that the cash book, the bank can have a debit balance and a credit balance. It is only cash that cannot have a credit balance. As for cash, it always has a debit balance. The reason is that you can't spend cash to negative. Okay, so cash always has a debit balance. But bank can assume a credit balance. Why? Because you can sometimes spend more than what you have in your bank account. And this is possible if you are operating a current account. So that scenario where you can spend more than what you have in your bank account is what is termed as the bank overdraft. Okay. So the point I was making is that, so let me clean these things and then. If you see a cash book with a balance, right? Balance brought down. This is a debit balance, right? This will correspond to the same balance on your bank statement, but that will show what? A credit balance. So a debit balance in the cash book is equal to a credit balance on the bank statement. And this is positive or is favorable. Okay. If the dynamics change, so let me change the dynamics. If the dynamics change and what we have is the reality that our cash book is giving us a balance at the credit side. So 1st January 2025, balance brought down. Balance BD 50. So you see this time our cash book is showing what? A credit balance. Then the bank statement will show a debit balance, telling us that there is a bank overdraft. Okay. So note that bank overdraft is when your cash book is giving you a credit balance and your bank statement is also giving you what? A debit balance. But I told you that sometimes they can represent this debit by this. So you see the 50 cedis and you not see debit attached to it, but you see something like O, okay, O/D, like this, telling you that it's an overdraft. So the point I'm making with you all is that if your cash book is showing a credit balance, that's an overdraft, and it should be equal to a debit balance overdraft on your bank statement, right? And the opposite is what I demonstrated earlier. Please, any more questions? Any more questions? Okay. So professors, let's join the second session. Okay, and then I'll now put in these standing orders, etc., so that you would appreciate how we can do the reconciliation.